All right. You. Okay, going live. I was gonna jump on yesterday, but I said, man, I'm busy. So yeah. And this made it more interesting because last night while I was working, I saw this. So I said, uh-oh, got something to talk about. Got something to talk about today. It's a good thing I waited to today, this afternoon or this evening to talk about this. Because yeah, it's interesting. I just think this is really interesting. There's a lot of questions going in my mind about this situation now. TJJ, what's up, man? TJJ said this is gonna be good. Interested in your take on these statements. Yeah, I got a few different just a lot of stuff going on my mind after I read this article last night. I read it a couple of times and then I saw some paragraphs that I missed towards the end and I was like, oh man, like it really made me think, it really made me think a lot about what's going on in the mind of you know, uh Zhang Weili. Marcus, Marcus, oh boy, Afro. Yeah, yeah, man. So, yeah, we get started here in the 5 minute mark or so, and let me make sure I got this article because I'm gonna read through the interview a little bit. Yeah, I want to read through the interview a little bit and then just kind of cover some of those points in there, man. Because man, I guess some people were right. Some people were right about this. I mean, and the whole booing situation, you can't say somebody's right every time when somebody loses because people are booing though, because um she actually admitted it. You rarely have people admit it, like when they're on like enemy turf. I won't even say enemy turf. I won't say it like that. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna just say Whaley was on, she was it was an away game, you know what I mean? Like she was visiting. She was the visitor. She gonna just have to deal with the pressure. She was the like one of the first in a while that I seen admit it like that. But yeah, we'll get started here in about another 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Got this article here. Let me make sure I got it pulled up. Yeah, I got it. What else we got going on in the fight world? I know I got to talk about PL. I still got to talk about PFL too. Like I got a show I want to talk about PFL. Um, I got to do that later tonight. It's getting interesting, man. Um, so many things I want to talk about with Kayla Harrison as well. So I'm gonna talk about that stuff later tonight. I'm gonna just do some videos or whatever. But I said let me get on here while I'm on the go again, and we can talk about the former champion Zhang Weili. All right, another minute and 30 seconds. Yeah, man. Yeah, Marcus. You can't let the crowd defeat you, man. You can't let the crowd defeat you like that. And it's something I'll bring up while we talk about it. I'll mention it now. I think if she let the crowd defeat her, that kind of lets you know what the person is fighting for as well. You know what they're fighting for. Because if you're on your home turf and everybody is on your back and everybody's with you, that's kind of giving you motivation. But over here, if the crowd is against you, that means you're almost at a loss. You're almost at a loss already. You don't know what to fight for. You know what I mean? Like when you look at these other champions like Kamaru Usman, Floyd Mayweather, John Jones, all of these fighters like that, Khabib, these are fighters that, they don't care what the crowd thinks. They're there to entertain, but they don't care what the crowd thinks at all. They don't care about that stuff because the thing they care about is legacy and taking care of their family. That's what makes you think, does this person really need to be a fighter? I won't take it that far with Zhang Weili yet because it's just her first experience, but you know what I mean. Um, yeah. So yeah, let's get into this talk. Welcome back, y'all, to another live stream. I'm on the go once again, and yeah, like I said last night, I was gonna jump on, but I was just busy, so I said I'll save it for today. I had some other stuff I wanted to talk about today, but when I read that article last night, this article here, Zhang Weili about her interview and the crowd pressures, man, I said, oh snap, I gotta, man, this is crazy. I gotta talk about this because several people were already telling me that they felt like the crowd was a big effect on her. But yeah, we'll talk about this too, man. Like, what's next for her? Is she really ready for a rematch? If the crowd like really is in her head like that, should she come back that fast in a rematch? I don't know, man. I really don't know. But let me see. Let me get this interview up here real quick with my free hand here. All right. So, what did she say in this interview? Okay. Give me 1 second. All right. This connection is crazy. All right. Dealing with a lot of amateur drivers on the road. Yeah. All right. So let's see what we got here. What we got? 1 second. So yeah, I was reading this. Where to go? Here it is. Yeah, I was reading this interview last night, man. Like, I didn't watch the actual interview. I guess it was translated over. But here's what she said in the live stream she did whenever she was talking about the loss, everything that was brought up. Um, Zhang said, regarding the stoppage, when the referee pulled me away, I really couldn't accept the fact. I was not reconciled at all. I worked hard for a long time and I trained very hard every day. And I brought a big team of mine to America. Yet the match ended this early. Deep inside, I couldn't accept this fact. It's because I put so much effort to prepare for this fight and it was very tough for me every day. But because of one misjudgment that I made, I thought she was doing a low kick and I had a defense for the low kick, but she made a high kick instead. And it was very sudden, very quick. And it's not like we went 3 rounds and she overpowered me, or even after 1 round, if she overpowered me and I lost, then I would admit that my skills weren't as good. But this one is really, I didn't have a chance to show what I've got, so I felt wrong. Okay. And let's see. Then she spoke on the Joanna fight. Here she said, last fight with Joanna, even though she trained in America, she is an American. So we were quite equal and neither of us got any boos. But this time, because Rose is from America and Florida is a bit like that. So when I showed up in the event, wow, the boos are really loud. It was my first time experiencing the situation, and I didn't expect it to be so serious. Even if she had 70% of the audience on her side and just a small amount on my side, it wouldn't have been that loud. When my music started playing, even before I showed up, it was already loud, and I couldn't even hear what the referee or coach said. Wow. Let's see what else we had. All right. So this is what her hold on. This is what her coach said. I think Weili performed quite well in the beginning. There was a huge psychological disadvantage fighting amongst a hostile crowd. So Weili wanted to relax more and be less nervous, but when she tried, she didn't relax. Instead, she lost focus. So at that moment, she was actually not fully there. So I would say Weili wasn't focused enough. We wanted her to be in her vacuum of focus from the moment of her interest, but we let the booze overwhelm us. I want to emphasize that we're not making any excuses. We accept the result. I am talking about the booze, the location, the uncertainty of who I face, not because I'm making an excuse for my loss. We're discussing the problems encountered. So if people think I'm making excuses, that's not the case. Wow. And we'll talk about the second part in a minute where she get into the rematch. So first off, yeah, my thoughts on her addressing the booze. I'm glad that she did address it. I mean, it's not an excuse. And if somebody says, "Oh, we lost because of the booze," that's just letting you know that there is a hole in the game. There's a hole in the game right there, right? And you know what that hole is, right? It's a lack of focus, not a lack of defense. Like I thought. I mean, it could be a lack of defense, but I mean, when it really came down to it, it looked like a lack of focus. It really just looked like a lack of focus there. And I mean, when you mention the crowd, that's a part of the game. It's a part of the fight game that you have to learn how to overpower. You see, like I said, you see a lot of champions when they start off at the low level, the amateur level, up into the pro level, their first fight. They already have a certain type of tunnel vision about them to when they get to that next crowd they get that might be on live TV. But then when they get to that pay-per-view, that's like a whole different monster. And then you see how some fighters they'll break, some fighters they won't break. They'll be cold, and you got to be cold. So I think the one thing about Wei Li is, that's one part of the game that she's never really. It's really hard to say you can train for something like that. But you have to find some way to find that's almost like selfishness. Like I hate to say selfish, but you have to remember the fight is about you. You're the only one going into the cage, and you're the only one representing your team. Like you can have a team train you, but you're the one going in there to represent the team. You representing yourself. So I think that that's something that Wei Li hasn't really they haven't really trained for. Like if you go back and look at a lot of her videos, like I said, I was showing her a lot of respect too, like because she was just in there working drill after drill, a lot of physical stuff, right? Strength and conditioning, working on her kickboxing, different things like that. But all the while, they really weren't preparing to be, zen when she get in there. Just they weren't prepared to say, look, if the fight's over here, you got to understand like everybody's going to be against you. So you have to block all of that out. You got to be like, I can't let any of this affect me. It's all about me. That's something they haven't really that's something they haven't really trained her mind for. Like I said, it may not be something you can do in the gym, do reps for, but training your mental, you got to do some other things. You got to do some things outside of the gym that'll teach you about being about you and taking care of yourself and self-confidence in yourself and not thinking of what other people think. You know what I mean? Like even just going off, sitting down and reading a book, taking time to read some books because when you sit down to read a book, you're trying to better yourself. And that's another thing about self-confidence. You sit down and just listen to some motivational speaking or something, that'll help build up her confidence. And I don't know, maybe they do that, maybe they don't, but it didn't really show in this fight. It kind of feels like that she was lacking that mental confidence big time because she was so focused on that noise, the roar of the crowd, you know, because she even admitted that, look, I couldn't hear my coach, I couldn't hear anything. Well, you got to say, look, I got to block that out. I got to get closer to my coach. I got to just put tunnel vision up, block everything out and listen. And at that point, you just need to be prepared to fight. Forget what everybody else is saying. That's why they say, look, when you go in there, you just take what the coach gave you before the fight. He's just giving you a little bit of pointers. Don't let it don't let it break you like that. You know. Marcus Bell said, "Yep, crowds are a part of MMA, and unfortunately, you can't fix." Yeah, that's something you really can't train for. You it will be kind of open and shut after a while. You will know whatever type of character you are or wherever you step, like as far as your home turf or the visitor's turf, there's going to be a hostile crowd or there'll be a crowd that's going to be for you. So you got to get used to it. Every fight's going to have to be the same. You got to if this if you go to Florida, you got to treat this fight just like if it was in Beijing or wherever or Singapore. You got to treat it like it's just another predominantly Asian crowd that's for you. Just pretend those boos are cheers. It ain't nothing personal. It really is nothing personal or what you about to do to that champion or that contender. You just have to have that type of mind state, because there really is, yeah, there really is no training for saying, okay, this is how I approach this crowd. This is how I approach that crowd. No, it's just all about your self confidence and have being one with your mind and understanding why you fight. Um, let's see. TJJ said, seems like Zhang did not think she could lose. Did not think she could lose similar to Joanna. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That might have been. I'm not sure about that. Hmm. Let's see. Sarah Lee said, "Do you think Weili would have won if it wasn't for the crowd?" It's possible. It now that she brings up the crowd, like how it really took her away from the fight mentally. I think yes, she could have won the fight because of the crowd. I think she could have won the fight if the crowd was like more so neutral, because I think she was more so going through the motions, so she wasn't feeling as sharp. And again, this ain't an excuse. We're not using the crowd as an excuse. We're using it a kink in her as a kink in her armor right now. As a hole in her armor, whatever you want to call it, a vulnerable spot. You know, which is something she has to crack now, because your mental game, that's like 97, 95, 97% of the fight game. So you gotta, you gotta, you gotta crack that, man. You gotta overcome that. You gotta overcome that now. What else did we talk about in this article? Yeah. So, what else did she say? Yeah. Okay. So the Joanna fight. Yeah, I remember the Joanna fight and the Wei Li fight. That fight was a little bit more neutral, and she came. I mean, she really did come. When you looked at her, she seemed like she was more so in the game, like prepared for a fight, because she felt like everybody was there just to see both of them fight. You know what I mean? Like there was no like harsh jeering, no name calling, no um loud boos and loud cheers for Joanna. It was neutral because, like she said, both of them are from different countries. They're both foreigners fighting in a neutral spot. So in that fight, she had time to kind of come in with a more so clear mind. But this fight here, it was like she said, going down to Florida where Rose is going to be the big favorite, and then you still got to factor in the stuff that Rose said too, because like Rose won the crowd over. She won that patriotic crowd over, right? She won them over big time with what she said. We can't lie about that. That's why now people are thinking this is that type of fight. So they got to boo the enemy, right? They're seeing they're seeing her as the enemy now. So now that she knows what Rose said about her in the interview, that's another thing that's kind of making her crack. That's another thing that's kind of making her crack as well. Like, remember, it's not just the audience that night, but it's also the anticipation of knowing that the audience is going to be against her. Like the whole "better dead than red" comment, when that came into play, every flag waver in America that's a fan of the UFC, they said, "Oh man, we got to come out. We got to support the soldier." You know what I mean? We got to support the soldier Rose because she's gonna kill the enemy tonight. That's the kind of mind frame everybody was in. So that brought that type of energy, loud crowd, rambunctious crowd, and that really did. I think it really did take a lot out of her mind. So yeah, it was a big part of the crowd. So if the crowd wasn't like that, it was more so neutral, or if it was just a no live gate, like like we had last year, if it was like that type of situation, I think that she probably would have fought to a higher caliber. The mind will take you out of a fight. Like the mind will get you knocked out. Like if your mind ain't in it, like your mind could be in a fight, but you not have a jab, and you might have bad takedown defense. But if you have a good mental frame and a good heart that can vibe off of each other and work together, you can stay in a fight. Shoot, I was looking back at Edson Barbosa, like in his fight with Khabib, like that guy had the mental to keep going. Like he looked defeated, But his mind state said keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. But the minute he say if he lost focus, he would have been choked out early. He would have been gone. You know, he may have lost, but his mind was still in it. And I think that Wei Lee, you know, since her mind wasn't fully there, she was kind of going through the motions. So physically, it looked like she was establishing her game plan, but she all the while her mind was thinking of the crowd. So you add that pressure of the crowd against you to having to defend the title and being away for over a year off. Your mind is gonna want to find the easy way out. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know I ain't making excuses because all y'all people that don't want to work out, we all try to find the easy way out, right? For everyday things like that. You know, we might start working out, and after that, we try to find the easy way out. You know why? Because our mind ain't we ain't preparing for it the way we need it. So that's the same situation, but it's so much more dangerous for her, man, because this is the fight game, and if if the crowd was bugging her that much, how's it going to be the next fight, y'all? Like, how's it going to be the next fight? Like, are you going to be prepared for that type of situation? Because you can't always hope for a neutral situation. You know, the champion makes the calls. If the champion wants to fight in Florida again, or if Dana White wants the champion to fight in Florida again, or fight in Las Vegas, that's where you fighting. Like, I'm sure you could call for Abu Dhabi, or you could call for a fight in Beijing, but at this point, they ain't gonna make Rose fighting in China since she's got the strap. They ain't gonna do that at all. Let me go back and check these comments here real quick because I was just going in right here real quick. TJJ says seems like Zhang did not think she could lose similar to Joanna. Oh yeah, I read that. Okay, Marcus Bell said Wei Lee should understand that instead of worrying about the boos, she should adapt to them. Yeah, you gotta adapt to them, man. You gotta say, oh man, these ain't boos, these are cheers. These are people paying to see me. Whether they like you or not, they're paying to see you. And that's what I call, I know a lot of people see it as the Floyd Mayweather effect. Like, Floyd Mayweather don't give a damn if you booing, or he don't give a damn if you booing or cheering for him. You know why? Because those boos and those cheers, they generate the dollar sign. They generate to a lavish lifestyle. And you got to remember that, man. Like, when those people are booing you, they paying to see you lose. Key word, they paying to see you lose. Just make sure you don't lose, but they paying to see you lose. That's something that Zhang Weili hasn't been able to get accustomed to. That's America's culture. You know what I mean? America's culture. One day they with you, the next day they're not. They do that with their own people here. You know, America does that with their own people. Like, Deontay Wilder is an American, but people be booing him. I think more people cheer for the UK, the white UK fighter, and Tyson Fury. You know what I mean? So you got to get used to that type of stuff. They see Wilder as the enemy, but UK fighter Tyson Fury, no, he's the guy they seem to kind of they cheer. So you gotta know how to understand that. You gotta flip that type of stuff in your mind. They'll cheer for Conor McGregor before they cheer for Floyd Mayweather. But you know what? He remembers that, hey, this is generating to money. This is generating to a nice lifestyle for me. So you got to remember that, man. She got to remember that, because from here on, that's how it's gonna be. You fighting on this level, it's just gonna get tougher and tougher. What else we got here? Sorry, y'all. I was just looking at something. Let's see. Does Weili get caught with a kick like that at the apex? She got her hands down. Let's see. They legit only booed her. They legit only booed her because they irrationally associate Asian with code. Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, I try to say certain things that keep my video, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, they did, but it also had something to do with what Rose said too. You know what I mean? Like people don't want to accept that, but if you say certain things about a person, you can turn them into a villain. You can villainize somebody. So it's still a big part of what Rose said too. TJJ said, did Rose do that on purpose? I say no. I disagree. She did that on purpose because if you go back to her interview, she said that she needed a way to turn this thing into a rivalry in so many words. Like she said, there was some type of rivalry with her and Joanna, but this time around there was nothing there, you know. So now it's more so like she's fighting against what she represents. So she kind of did that on purpose. Every fighter has a mental game. This is chess first. Yeah, she did that on purpose. Yeah, I mean you see this in the fight game, like how Floyd Mayweather once messes with Canelo to touch the belt. Just little things that trigger him. You know, Anthony Joshua, he messed up letting John Ruiz touch his belt. You know what I mean? Andy Ruiz, excuse me, Andy Ruiz touching his belt. Like certain little things like that, man. People don't believe in, but you do certain things, or you say certain things to a person, it it can translate different types of energy in a fight. I know those might seem different to y'all, but yeah, no, like that's something she did on purpose to make her seem more like the hero in this fight, and it put the crowd on her side. Because again, it's the crowd, right? Rose knew how to work the crowd because the crowd is still a part of her, just like it is Weili. So Rose put that crowd on her side. Like I said, this is a fight, man. You got to know how to work every single angle. I make the crowd throw stuff at you. I got the upper hand. Why you think they have to choose certain type of judges as well? Because it's a game about the judges. Like you have to choose judges that are neutral, but sometimes you got to be careful with that because some judges are already in the bag. Because look, my thing is, look, okay, um, another perfect example in the UK, Errol Spence taking on Kell Brook. They threw stuff at Errol Spence. Errol Spence coming from Texas to the United Kingdom for his first championship fight. They were throwing stuff at him. They were calling him names. They said Kell Brook gonna do this, he gonna do that to you. But what did Errol Spence do? He channeled all of that out. He channeled all of that out. He said, I can't turn the crowd to my side. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do the next best thing. I'm gonna turn this thing into tunnel vision, and I'm gonna just say, forget the crowd. I'm coming to beat this guy up, and that's what he did. He beat him up for 11 rounds in a tough fight, but he took that belt. He went over to enemy territory and took that belt. And I compare that because his situation was a little bit worse. Errol's was much worse than Zhang Weili. They weren't throwing stuff at Zhang, they were just booing. And if boos can overpower your mind and what you think, you got a lot to work on. I thought it was defense, but no, it's your mind. That's a lot of stuff to work on. That's a lot of stuff to get together. And I want to make this point too before I forget. Like Zhang Weili should be glad like it was just boos. I mean, this is stuff a black American fighter's been dealing with for years. Like this is like child's play considered like with Jack Johnson or Joe Louis or like Jersey Joe, Ezra Charles, those type of fighters dealt with. You know, like Jack Johnson, like yeah, a lot of people bet on him to win, but they were so mad that they would kill people in the audience. You know what I mean? Like, or they would kill people like in the street if he was to win. They would take it out on other black people. So that's the type of stuff he had to worry about having a hit on his head. You know what I mean? Archie Moore, black American fighters on their own home turf were getting booed and getting death threats. She wasn't getting death threats like that, as far as I know. So you got to learn how to deal with them. But Muhammad Ali, you know what I mean? Like when he came back, people wanted to villainize him back in the day. So that's much worse. Like, look how they had to overcome a lot because you know why they were able to do it? Because they took on the whole meaning of being a fighter. You know, being a fighter, you got to fight everything, man. You got to fight the odds. You know, you got to fight the person in the ring or octagon with you. You, like I said, you got to fight the crowd, so to speak. You got to fight against what the judges think of you. Shoot, you probably got to fight against your promoter because he gonna try to take more than his cut. So much going on in there, man. But like I said, we focusing on the crowd part. That's just something that Zhang Weili, she's really, really, really got to do some mental exercises to get her mind straight. I mean, look, Valentina Shevchenko, she's a good example of a fighter that separates emotion from the fight. You know what I mean? Like, separates emotion and personal feelings. Unless it's Nunes, like Nunes will get up in that mind, but Nunes will get in that mental with her, man. Like I can feel that. But as 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 far as like a whole though, like Valentina, she's a good example of a cold fighter. The way you got to be, Valentina Shevchenko is the shooting range. They doing other things. She's a dancer. She's doing other things to build her confidence up and build her up as a person. So you know why? When she get in there, she's like, look, all these people that are booing me, or if they don't like me, look, I'm an accomplished martial artist. I don't care about these people. Look, I got guns. I'm a dead eye when it comes to shooting. I'm a great dancer. You know what I mean? Like I can model. She comes in with a lot of self confidence to let you know that look, I'm your entertainment. You know, I pull your strings, and that's what you got to do. Another example, Zhang Weili, she got to be the puppet master. She got to be the puppet master in there. She got to control the crowd. Remember that they come to see you. That's why even if I don't like a fighter, man, I would never throw trash or like talk bad on a fighter if I was there, man. I'm like, because they're doing something that a lot of y'all can't do. So, you know, let me go through this comment section here real quick. Floyd Mayweather is the most booed in modern history. Exactly. Yeah, like Floyd Mayweather, he's the most booed, but the most paid because all of them people that are thinking they're causing him harm or hating on him, they forget they putting dollars in his pocket. They put dollars in his pocket. And that's what Zhang Weili has to remember too. Like everybody that was booing, they paying you. They paying you. I know you might not feel like you're about the money, you're about the martial arts, but there comes a time when you reach a high level in the sports game, you got to learn to play some people, man. You got to learn to play people. The same way Rose was playing her, man. Like, let's be real. Like, Rose played her, man. Rose played her good. It's a mental game. Like, Rose can't go in there feeling like everybody on Zhang Weili's side. That's gonna make her crack. She can't do that. So she said, look, I got to get this crowd on my side. I got to turn this into a rivalry. I got to do something to get this fight balanced out where I can come in there, feel good about myself. And she did that. Hang on one second. All right. I'm back with y'all now. Back with y'all now. Okay, where were we? So I was on the move, but I came to a stop now. So I go back through this article too, because there's something I want to mention here. All right, yeah. Robert said he's the most booed fighter yet. TJJ said good point. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just like looking at what Rose was able to do with the crowd, man. Like I said, like it's just crazy, man. Like you just got to be prepared for that. People will villainize you. It's like politics, man. Like if you're running for office, another person's running for office, they're gonna turn you into the villain. They're gonna dig up dirt on you. You know what I mean? Like Same as politics. Like I don't really follow politics, but I know the gist of it that if two people are competing, the other person's gonna try to dig up dirt and make you look like an enemy. So when you go to that debate, some people, if you don't clap back the right way, you know what's gonna happen, man. You know what's gonna happen. They're gonna fall onto that other person's side. There's gonna be a favorite. Or I said there's no such thing as a good Florida crowd, especially if you qualify as other to one of those crowds. Shoot, yeah, there is not. Zhang Weili, she caught on to that. I will say that Rose definitely tipped the scale with that Florida crowd, though. Many came specifically to boo Zhang. Exactly. I'm telling you, man. Cool Dr. Money said, I think it's a little different in Zhang's case where she came from a society where she was a majority, whereas minorities here have been hardened from all the BS we get. Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Yeah, like being in China and having that team, like I was saying in the beginning, having that team behind you and always being like pushed in a positive way because everybody is with you, then you're never really going to have to worry about that hard life outside of China. The day you step out and you go down to Florida, you go down to Texas, you go down to Alabama, and you different. Shoot, man, you go down to one of them flag waving states and you Chinese, or yeah, or you Jamaican, or you Haitian, you're gonna feel it. And if you never felt it before, it's gonna shatter your mind in a way that you never knew. You never knew because you'll be like, wow, is the rest of the world really like this? That's why a lot of people who come here, they like it for a certain amount of time, but then they go right back to their own country. You know what I mean? So yeah, like the minorities here, we've been growing a tough skin. We know how to use it to our advantage. Like again, Floyd Mayweather, good example, like the best example because he made billions off of it. He made billions off of it. He grew a tough skin and a cold heart, and he was able to make billions off of it to the point he was like, I know these people don't like me. Shoot, well, it's time to take that money from those people that don't like me, you know? Yeah, she hasn't been hard in that way, and it's gonna be a hard road because the next thing I want to talk about here too might affect that. Hold on. Yeah, the bullet. Yeah, the bullet. Yeah, she got confidence on another level, man, because her confidence, it really comes from her confidence comes from self, man. Like her confidence just comes from building herself up, not fighting for, you know, you don't I don't really hear Valentina always mention like the country she fighting for. She always mention her, which is a good thing. Like, Valentina, when she usually be talking about fighting, she mentions herself. I, which is good. That lets you know that whenever she goes in there to fight, she doesn't have a lot of pressure except from herself to do better. So I definitely got to respect her a lot more because of the way she approaches this game. But let's talk about this part here too, real quick. So this was something else she said in the interview. Let me see. All right, so I read this part. So yeah, let's go back over this part here real quick. So she said, I want to emphasize that we're not making any excuses regarding the loss. We accept the result. I'm talking about the boos, the location, uncertainty of who I'll face, not because I'm making an excuse for my loss. We're just discussing the problems encountered. So if people think I'm making excuses, that's not the case. So yeah, that last part, again, I want to reiterate, that's something that she'll really have to work on. Like she sees it as a problem. She sees that as a problem. So yeah, that's something she has to tackle. And that's the only way you can tackle that is working on your mind. It's not really anything as far as her skill set, working on her mental game. Because she said the crowd wasn't an excuse. It was more so like a punch. It was like a punch she couldn't get past. It was like a jab she couldn't get past. It was like a quick, fast jab that continued to hit her all night, but she didn't have the she didn't have the tools to get past that jab, right? That's what it seems like. So you got to go back to the drawing board and do whatever it is you got to do to get back right mentally, man. That's what it's going to come down to. And I don't think you can do that right away and then expect to get a rematch, which is something she brought up here. Let's see. Next thing she said, we're also waiting for the second fight. Depends on the schedule. Ideally, we would like it to be held in Abu Dhabi. This location is neutral to both parties, but now Rose is the champion, so it might not be up to us. The table has turned. All right, so right away, to me, that's kind of a dangerous thing too. Like, if you're trying to look for a neutral place because the crowd, because of the crowd, you feel like the crowd is bullying you. That's kind of a dangerous thing, man. I mean, to me, it should be all about the get back. It should be all about redemption, about just you, not the crowd. Like, that's dangerous, man. Like, she's thinking about fighting in Abu Dhabi where it's gonna be neutral. Will it really be neutral? I don't know, because you got to think again. What mind game or what mental game is Rose gonna play on her again, right? She could play something again that'll turn the fight into her favor. And even if they did go to Abu Dhabi, you think it's gonna be neutral, but there might be fans over there that want to see Rose. So you can never just call it by location. I think it's just going to take some time, man. I think it's just going to take some time here. Like, you really got to say, if it's the neutral, if it's the location that's bothering me, then it must be me. You know what I mean? Because I think as a fighter, you got to be able to fight anywhere. As a fighter, you got to be able to fight anywhere. And when you do go over to places where the odds are against you, it's supposed to that's when you're supposed to level up, not level down. Like, I think there's a level a fighter has to stay on when they fight, that championship level. But when the odds really start to fall against you, you just go up, man. You got to go up from there. You can't start questioning certain things like, oh man, like the crowd. We got to get another location. We got to get somewhere where it's gonna be neutral. You can't do that, man. You got to learn to fight through that type of stuff. You really got to learn to fight through that stuff. Like, a fighter fights anywhere, because like if you get jumped in a well, I won't say jump in an alley. Let's say if somebody calls you outside, fighting in the alley, you got to know how to fight in the alley. You know what I mean? If you're a street fight, you got to learn how to fight in the alley. Like, if you walk through a neighborhood that ain't your neighborhood and somebody wants to one-on-one you and they kind of circle around you and block you off, but they are going to let you fight that person, they're going to go against you. You still got to beat that person. You still got to beat that person the same way you would any other time, because your life really depends on it, right? And you look at Kimbo, like when he was doing the rest in peace, Kimbo Slice, when he used to do his thing, the backyard fighting. After a while, he started going to other territories to fight, real street fighting, real street brawling. He start fighting harder, man. Like, when you start leaving your territory, you got to fight harder because there are going to be certain things against you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Stick Summer Dog say, if the crowd is booing you and that's your excuse, you're not a fighter. You are correct. A fighter can fight anywhere. Yeah, that's what it comes down to, man. Like, because your talent and your skill set, that's something you take with you from the day you start fighting to the day you get to your prime to the day you die. Like, that's who you are. That's the type of fighter Muhammad Ali is. When he went over to England to fight Henry Cooper, uh, Jack Johnson fighting in Australia, fighting on overseas territory, they'll fight anywhere. They'll fight anywhere, man. Like, because they are the fighter. Like, the location, the venue, the crowd doesn't make them. The crowd doesn't make them. There's two things about fighting. Like, when you fight for you. You're the same fighter as if you were fighting in your hometown. And if it comes down to a rambunctious crowd, man, you play the crowd. You play the crowd. You got to play the crowd, man. Like, That's all you got to do. Like it takes two to tango. So remember that crowd's there to see you too. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like leading up to a rematch, I don't know if she is ready. Like I was leading up to the rematch, I was 50-50 before I heard this interview because I felt like she could tighten up her defense and be ready for a fight. But now that the mental pressures come into play more so, I wouldn't put her back in there with Rose yet because like she said too, Rose is the champion. So it's not going to be up to Weili on where they fight. You want a neutral location, but it's not up to you. It's not up to you. It's up to Rose, the champion. So you have to find yourself and you have to build the mental strength up now. Because again, her skills, her skills on a focused day could give Rose a run for her money, or it could be a competitive second fight. But it won't be competitive if it's the crowd that's bothering you, if it's the mental pressures that's bothering you. You know what I mean? It makes it seem, yeah, like before like the other day when I did my who's next video, I was like, yeah, maybe Jean could. I wouldn't then. Something was telling me I don't think she's ready for it, but now I really don't think she's ready for it now because yeah, like if the crowd and the location is a big part of this for you, no. And that's something a lot of, fighters overseas, when they start to see how Americans do things and how childish and rambunctious they can be and just out there, it can kind of offset their mind because, Zhang Weili comes from a more respectable part of martial arts where that's how they, the way they train, the way they discipline themselves, if it's a different world. Even if you go to Thailand, that's like a different world. It's like a culture shock for us when we go over there, but it's a culture shock for when they come over here. You know what I mean? So it's it's something really really new to her. It's just something new to her, man, and she's got to overcome that. When you fighting for the UFC, this is what Americans like, and this is how they act. This is how they act. It's not always going to be neutral. It's not always going to be for you. It's going to be against you sometimes. It's going to be against you sometimes. Colton said, I felt bad that Whaley got booed. Who knows the thoughts that were going on in her head? Maybe part of her thought she was being booed because she's from China and yeah, all that. Yeah, could have been, man. But like I said, you know, that just lets you know how out of tune some of these young Chinese people are on how Americans can be. Like I said, like black fighters, shoot, back in the day, shoot, they'll toss things at you, they'll threaten to kill you, they'll threaten to lynch you. It was nothing. And they still don't know about that. Like it's crazy how so many other places out of the world, around the world are still out of tune on how, you know, certain crowds in America can be. You know what I mean? Like going to Florida, like they will boo you. They booed the hell out of Kamara Usman. Another example, they booed the hell out of Kamara Usman, but shoot, did he care? Hell no, he didn't care. Usman didn't care. Usman said, "Look, I love this." He danced his way to the octagon and said, "Look, I'm gonna put this jab in y'all's hometown favorite. I'm gonna box him better than he can box. I'm gonna just take it to him and I'm gonna knock him out. I'm gonna knock out 100% Jorge Masvidal, the guy that y'all came to see, the guy that Chad Ocho Cinco said he put money on right in front of me." So you see that? That's a lot of pressure that Usman had to deal with. A lot of people were talking subtle trash to him. Then some people were like, riding Jorge Masvidal's jock right in front of him, letting them know that they wanted Usman to lose. But what did Usman do? He stayed 100% focused, man. All of that was building up, and Usman said, "Watch this. I'm gonna knock this dude out, and I'm gonna crush this whole crowd." See, he learned how to fight the audience. Roger, what's up, man? He learned how to fight not just the person in the octagon, but he fought the audience too, and he beat the hell out of the audience with that one. You know what I mean? He really did. He really did. That's how you play a crowd. So Zhang Weili, take notes from Kamaru Usman. Because Kamaru Usman, he'll be booed in his next fight, and he'll be booed in his next fight, and he'll be booed in his next fight. But you know what? He's gonna keep winning. He's gonna keep on winning. He's not gonna say, "Oh, let's fight in a neutral location." He's not gonna say, "Let's fight in a neutral location." No, I don't like this audience. No, you know what he gonna do? He gonna dance his way to the octagon against the next opponent, and he gonna come in there and beat him again. And he gonna beat the crowd as well. Cole said it's really because people just love Rose so much. It was that, and it was just an added factor. You know, it was an added factor to it. It was just an added factor to it. Stick Summer Dog said, I just heard Zhang interview. It was all excuses. Even her trainer was making excuses. I fire him right now. He said, I fire him right now. If Rose is ready to fight, she will crush anybody. Um, that's the thing. Like, I don't think it's excuses at this point. I think it's really holes in her game. Like, she's talking about the holes in her game. Like, she's not really making any excuses. She's she's letting you know that there are holes in her game. And what's really dangerous is that these holes in her game are mental holes. You know, that's what's dangerous about it. Like, these just ain't regular like little defenses that you can fix, or little holes where you say, "Oh, keep your hand up, keep your right hand up." No, it's not like that. This is worse, man. Yeah, it should be the least of her worries. Yeah, I wouldn't give her this fight. Yeah, yeah, Roger. Yeah, Usman did it right. He did it right. It was a mind of a champion. You got to do it that way. Usman's already laughing the crowd. Yeah, like, you know, there's gonna be a time when people don't like you. That's how I am. Like, there's always gonna be a time people don't like you. I think that Zhang Weili. I don't know. I might talk about this in another video. I don't know. Like somebody brought up earlier. I think it was Cool Doctor Money. Is it Cool Doctor Money? Yeah, he brought up the majority thing. I don't know. Like, her being the majority, do y'all feel like she was protected? Fighting in China for so long, like, fighters are kind of protected that way. I mean, there's a lot of UK fighters in boxing that are like that. Like, there's a lot of boxers that are in the United Kingdom. They're so used to being cheered for, and they're used to fighting their guys in the United Kingdom. When they come to America, sometimes they crush. They bust on their American debut. Anthony Joshua. I like Anthony Joshua, but he was one of them. His American debut, right? He got knocked out by Andy Ruiz. You know, Colton said, "Am I the only one who thinks Rose just caught a flaw in Weili and worked it out? I don't think a second fight will go so easily. I was actually impressed with Weili striking versus Rose. Um, the reason she caught the flaw is because Weili wasn't awake. She wasn't awake. She should have been prepared for everything there. Like, she just kind of went through the motions, fell into a rhythm. I thought she was doing well with her leg kick, but the the, the hit she got caught with is something that she probably would have got caught with somewhere in the second round or the third round or the fourth round. You know, excuse me. I think she would have got caught with that shot at any point in the fight, because Rose is that accurate of a striker, and Zhang Weili was gonna come down with her hands, come in with her hands down. But her having that loss of focus in the first round because she was thinking about the crowd, that was a big contribution to it. You know what I mean? That was a big contribution to it. It happened so early because, again, lack of defense, but also lack of focus. But like I said, if she was focused, like if Weili was 100% focused, she still might have would have got caught with that shot. We wouldn't know because my prediction was this fight was going to end inside of 5 rounds. I don't care who it was. I felt like Rose going to stop her or Weili was going to stop. It was not going 5 rounds. It was going to be because of lack of defense, or is it going to be because of Rose's lack of dog in there? You know. So I kind of felt either way, man. I was like, yo, it's going to go down either way, man. Yeah, leaky defense. That's what it was. Like this wasn't the time for either of those, a loss of either of those things. This is the biggest fight of your career. All right, so I'm gonna get up out of here in a minute. Here, I've been almost an hour, but I'm gonna come back on and talk some more tomorrow because I feel like I didn't cover everything I want to talk about. I just want to talk about the whole thing in general about fighters, losing focus too, man. Like crowd crowd ain't it's not you can't use that as an excuse. You can't say, "Oh, I lost because everybody booed me." No, that's just showing your weak mind frame. Shout out to Zhang Weili. Like she's a tough fighter. I like the way she trains. I like her grind, but she filled us in on something we didn't have to make assessments or assumptions about. Like we didn't have to make no assumption on how Weili felt. She's telling us the truth. So I gotta give her a lot of credit for that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying she's mentally weak. She's given us a little clue that she wasn't there mentally. You know what I mean? Like she was a little bit mentally weak. She's telling us straight up. She's telling us. I'm not going out on record saying she's that or making an assumption that. No, she's saying it. Rick Colombo says, Zhang, Joanna, Jessica, more or less one dimensional. They are awesome in that one dimension, but they leave much to be exploited. I love Rose, but still not sure how she will fare against Dern or Tatiana. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I got a video coming about one-dimensional fighters too, man. So I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, like when you one-dimensional, man, it spells danger. It spells danger. So I'm still working on that video, man. Yeah, Roger. Mind is the most powerful thing, man. It's the most powerful weapon, man. It is, man. And if you know how to use that mind to control other minds, man, you know how to use your mind to control other people's minds, that you got to give that person a lot of credit, you know? Some people think some people keep saying that Whaley kick was luck, but in reality, man, you ain't gotta tell me, Mark. So look, I told you I keep getting people on my channel saying I don't know what I'm talking about. It was a lucky kick. They're like, why are you breaking this thing down? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the fight game. That was a lucky kick. Whaley will be back. Or they'll say stuff like, you said Rose was gonna get her ass beat. They'll be like, you don't know. It was like, you don't it's like y'all just keep name calling me. Y'all pretty much don't know. Y'all keep on saying I was picking Wei Lee. I told you it could go either way though. I said it was 50-50. I just went down my keys to victory, but at the same time, I didn't try to call this kick luck. This thing ain't no kick, man. This kick wasn't no lucky kick. I mean, the girl studied her. I told you this could have happened. I didn't say what happened in the first round. You saying it's first round because you saying it's lucky because it was the first round. No, she just found the hole early and executed. But that execution could have came in the second or third or fourth because that's how open Whaley is. I mean, do I got to pull out a whiteboard and do I got to draw? Do I got to draw this whole diagram out? Or do I got to actually do it to you? Do I got to meet somebody and actually take you into the ring and actually show you how the kick landed? But what's lucky behind that? Like Rose prepared for it. She fainted. That's not a miracle that's coming down from the sky. I mean, she made a feint. Weili said it herself. Weili said it herself that she was expecting a low kick and she caught a head kick. That's not luck. Stick Summer said you have to look at the fight again. Watch Rose would throw a left jab. Zhang would throw left low counter kick. It was all set up by Rose's team. I watched the fight again. I like his show. I'm gonna subscribe. Thanks, Summer Dogs. Yeah, definitely subscribe, man. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They prepare for it. They prepare for it. They definitely prepared for that. They studied her. They studied her, and Rose took everything that she knew into this fight about her. She studied the fighter. People don't understand. People watch tapes of fighters. That's what I was scared about in this fight. I said, I'm picking Weili, but I said, if Weili come in with her hands down, she's not going to take the shot the same way she did against Joanna. Like, remember in the second round, Joanna, she cracked Weili across the jaw with a good kick. Damn near knocked her out that time. Her team had to carry her back to the corner, right? Right? This time, Rose, she came with the same thing and the same, but with better accuracy and with better what you would call a sleight of hand like type thing, kind of a feint type, a feint, which makes it worse because when Joanna kicked her in the face, she expected it because it was a brawl type moment. She could take it better. But the way Rose threw it, making her not even see it coming. She never saw it coming. That's why it knocked her out, because the ones that you don't see coming, they hurt the most. The ones that don't, the ones you don't see, they do the most damage. That's why Joanna couldn't knock her out, because she seen it coming, but she hurt her. She definitely hurt her when she kicked her in that second round. But Rose, she set up a feint, distracted her with the feint, boom, kicked her with the same accurate kick, knocked her out. Why? Because she didn't see it coming. Now tell me, how was that luck? Tell me how that's luck. Just because a fight ain't 5 rounds, you can still break it down and tell a person how every step plays out. Every step can be played out in some way. So I got to make like a 20 or 30-minute video on such a quick knockout? Man, I mean, I like talking about it. Don't get me wrong. I'll break it down to you all day long. I don't, anybody want to challenge me on why it's luck, I'll break it down to you. I don't mind. I like talking about the fight game, so it's all right. Cole said I picked Rose, but after the fight, I'm almost more willing to pick Weili for the rematch. Uh, Not the way her mental is looking. Rod said, no worries. The same sense where upset Val didn't kick Weili. Yeah, like, like I said, when you start calling me names, and I know you don't know anything, so I won't take it to heart. Anybody catch the clip of Weili training that exact movement against a low kick? It is unquestioned that was plotted out. Yeah, yeah, it was plotted out, man. Like I said, if it wasn't gonna come in the first round, it was gonna come. Maybe it would have knocked her out like the second or third. We don't know, but yeah, it was gonna come. How much joy do you think Valentina took in watching Rose beat Weili? She was actually being interviewed right when it happened. It was on TV and her whole face lit up. She was happy because she wanted to see Weili prove herself, and Weili was kind of jumping the gun at the time, and then after that, to see her do that, and she'd be like, "All right, so you were calling my name, but you weren't worried about the task in front of you." So if it plays out like that, don't jump ahead of yourself. But yeah, man, I gotta go. I'll be back on like this tomorrow about this. Will I be back on at the same time tomorrow? Maybe about 7 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be at home. So yeah, thanks for coming through. Thanks to new subscribers. Yeah, Stick Summer Dogs. Sorry, Summer Dogs. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, definitely tune in. And if you haven't seen my post fight breakdown, go back and look at it where I talk about the fight, the post fight analysis. Check that video out. I talked about how the kick came and everything. But I might got to do another video and talk about it, because people like to call me names, and I like when they call me names when I'm doing something right. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody coming through. Roger, Robert, Savage back in the house too. Got to check out your stuff too, Savage. Your new videos. All right, see, I 5 or 6 break. Explain what we understood it actually. Rose kicked Weili in the face. Yeah, like I said, I picked Weili, but I'm still here. I'm gonna tell you why Rose knocked her out. I ain't gonna hide. I picked Weili to win by stoppage. I picked her to win by stoppage, but hey, I'll come back and tell you why she did it because I saw why Rose did it. I never said Rose was a tomato can beating Weili. I said it was 50-50. I ain't bet no money on it either. So it ain't no loss to me. I just gained some knowledge. That's all. And that's what a lot of people can do. Gain some knowledge. But I'm out, y'all. I'll talk to y'all yeah, tomorrow about 7 o'clock. And again, thanks for everybody coming through. Stick Summer Dolls, Colton, Robert, Roger, Marcus, of course, Rick, Cool Dr. Money. Anybody else I forget, make sure y'all come through. Combo Breaker 99. I am out. Subscribe. Peace.